So first of all, I'm going to have a little opening remarks. I'm going to welcome everyone to this very important and innovative session that we're going to discuss uh, the future in the environment. And first, I want to thank everybody for joining us. In particular, I want to thank the organization, the Green Growth, for hosting this forum and for inviting Zack and I to be participants. Um, what we're going to discuss is obviously is going to be very important to the future of our environment, and also in reference to what are some of the challenges that we will face. We will be discussing alternative energy solutions and also innovative technologies to the global challenges. Now, my name is Manuel Rosales, and I'm going to be your host and moderator. And my background is a little bit crazy, but I was served 2 years in the Department of Energy as a senior consultant. So I understand a little bit about the challenges that we face in all aspects of energy, and also was the assistant administrator for the Office of International Trade at the Small Business Administration. And I've been a career entrepreneur and activist, in particular in the area of small business and innovation. So I'm really pleased to be here for this discussion. But what I want to do is get into the real deal here and introduce you to the guy who knows what's going on, someone who has been basically in this energy field for many years and has hopefully some solutions for our future. I'm talking about Mr. Zack Abdi. Did I pronounce it right? Abdi?
Absolutely.
Super. And Zack manages a group of activities, including ERP and CRM solutions, alternative energy solutions, CSR training, and competency development for sustainable human resources. His passion for developing sustainable human resources helped launch a robotic program designed for children with special needs for Dubai Municipality and Children's City. Now, I could go on forever on Zack's resume, but one of the things that really stuck out to me is that he's a big advisor to the Community Social Innovation in Toronto chapter and regular speaker for the Nationalization Program, Indigenous Communities, and Workforce Human Development, which is very important in the energy sector, is that workforce human development. And Zack has really looked into the way that we can use food waste recycling as a way to have some innovations and be able to use that as sustainable for rural business and economics. So without further ado, I'm so pleased to have you join us. Please, Zack, the mic is yours.
Thank you very much, Manny. I really appreciate that. It's a great honor for me to be at the event, which was hosted by the World Green Growth Organization. The opportunity of talking about some of the solutions that we can bring on board, such as the economic inequality. You mentioned about indigenous community. So economic equality is very important. So is the woman empowerment, and so is the economic all across the board from every walk of life. At the same time, also addressing the greenhouse gas that is having an impact on the climate change. Canada or South Africa or Bangladesh or any other part of the world, we're all impacted with that. So if that can help people to understand the reason why we're having I call it, if you understand the greenhouse gas, you will understand the climate change. So from that point of view, what I'm trying to take the opportunity of sharing some of the things that we always have them in the house, in our restaurants and hotels and other places which is what we call it food waste. So how food waste can have an impact by emission of methane gas, which is 80 times more lethal than carbon footprint or carbon emissions. So that's what I want to talk about today.
When you mentioned the indigenous and also the development of the workforce, one of the things that we really focused on when I was in energy was working with the tribal nations in reference to that, because they had a big time issues, particularly in Arizona, New Mexico, and other tribal majority areas on the energy sector. I mean, it was really tough for them to get broadband, internet, energy supply. So I think that's really important to that. So if you can address that a little bit, because I think that's something that we need to discuss.
Well, the reason why I was smiling when you said the word Mexico, if you may have noticed, I was like going on to I had a discussion with the clean tech mission that we're undertaking, or we are participating with Mexico. Mexico happens to be the fifth largest food producer in the world. So they have a lot of, there's other ways and other areas where the methane gas is also coming out that has a direct impact on people. And that's what we're working on it.
Super. Yeah, because the other thing that's come up in this discussion of obviously the new Green Deal is flatulence of cows. You know how that affects the environment. So is that something that have you looked into and see if, how that manipulates, or I mean actually multiplies into that factor that's really creating some problems?
I, I I'll give you another example of again staying with Mexico. Mexico, avocado is a part of the cuisine for Mexican cuisine.
Oh,
It's
absolutely, big
always
time.
been. So
Yes,
avocado right now takes 273 liters of water to make 1 kilogram of avocado. So many of those people who are now shunning away, not wanting to use avocado because of uh, the water intensive and water footprint issues. So the
yes,
question remains is that how do we put back without having the food going extinct? Forget about whales going extinct or white rhino going extinct. Even our own basic requirements is also endangered at the moment. So we have to find solution that will help all the stakeholders in the world.
absolutely. But the other thing that you mentioned, Zach, that was very interesting is the Women Empowerment Initiative. You know, how does that connect with the ESG and helping in that with women empowerment?
Well, ESG stand for environmental social governance. The environmental social governance is a new initiative, if I could use that word, which has been launched recently by many financial institutions as well to bring on board with many people with the enticing them with the financial uh, benefits. So, having said that, the women empowerment, the reason why women empowerment is important because in some cases more than 50% are women. Population of the world are women in certain countries. So they are basically 50% stakeholder of this planet. And at the same time, of having an ESG as a portfolio and the financial backing is there. So what we're looking at the possibility to say, why can we not empower them with the tools and with the solution that they can use locally organically? Meaning the food waste that has been thrown away that creates nothing but stench or flies and disease and all kinds of stuff. Why can they not convert them into making chicken feed or fish feed or fertilizer or soil amendment that they can use or create again a circular economy by having the fish feed to get more fish or having chicken to give more chicken and eggs and so on. So it becomes a continuous process, and it helps the women in all areas, including the rural area, where many of them don't have the college degree or school diploma. So they can also can apply that in the simplest way that they have been raised as. So it's basically, in other words, the regenerative agriculture or farming, which becomes a part of back to future type of moment, so to speak.
Yeah, it's very interesting your perception on that because when I was at the Small Business Administration, I did a lot of obviously collaboration and technology transfers to underserved countries, particularly the third world. And when we discuss this, it was obvious to me, because coming from Latin America, I know that the women are the ones who do a lot of the work. So a lot of the micro businesses and a lot of the work was really being done by women, in these nations. So your, perception and pinpointing that issue, I think is very important, because that's where it happens. Like Margaret Thatcher says, you want something, said, you ask a man. You want something done, you ask a woman. So I think that's, you're right on that one, and we need to tap into that entrepreneurial workforce.
And at the same time, Manny, as you correctly pointed, why not, like, now the funds are there, ESG funds are there, so why not create the micro loan for people to do what they need to do, so that way they're not only uh, addressing the problem within the household or community or the village or the town or the country. It's also addressing the problem globally, which has more to do with the climate change that has absolutely no border. And I often been saying that hunger does not recognize color, creed, or religion.
Yes, absolutely. And me, on that same subject matter, what do you see as an immediate solution for a better environment using what you discussed earlier, the recyclable waste?
Well, if you take a look at any indicator, the green economy indicator, you will find that most of the item that is indicated in the green economy indicator chart, so to speak, that has been issued by many countries, many municipality or many department of climate change. You will find most of the item is more to do with municipal waste. So if you look at another chart of linear economy versus circular economy, you will find again one of the chart that says for the linear economy, it says waste. It goes in the end waste, make and use and waste. So if you are having those items going to waste, only to create more problem, more greenhouse gas, more global warming, more expenses, more firefighting. We can
Mhm.
stop all this firefighting by doing something that is needed. And I'm so happy that IPCC, United Nations IPCC report, has indicated for the first time they have indicated methane gas as a as a direct contributor for the global warming. They should have done that. They could have done that before. It was not a hidden secret. But at the same time, if you may notice, even Joe Biden, President Biden, or Prime Minister of Canada, or everybody else, they're all talking about taking care of methane gas or curbing methane gas in every possible way they can, because
Yeah.
of the global warming that's impacting not only just the women, not only just me and you, but also our future generation that we are accounted for, or we are accounted to.
Yeah, it's interesting that you would state those facts, because a lot of the states, particularly like California, with the waste, recycling, there's been studies that come out that says that makes it worse than better, in reference to then having all of these landfills and all of this waste out there, and it doesn't really improve what they're trying to improve. So I think you're absolutely correct that hopefully taking that waste and recycling it into a possible energy supplier would be something that we should be really concentrating on, versus just dumping all this stuff all over the place.
Well, I've lived my adult life in the Middle East. I work for Saudi Aramco, which is the biggest oil company. I work for uh, Abu Dhabi National Oil Company as a career development advisor, as well as Qatar Gas as the head of national development. If you and I and people who have been living there, they will tell you now, uh, 50 Celsius has become a norm,
Mm.
which never used to be. According to United Nations Charter, uh, if you have 50 degree, you are not supposed to be out there because it causes all kinds of situation for what it is. So if the economy is driven by manpower and man hour, then if people will not be on work at work because of 50 degrees Celsius, it is not economically viable to run a business. At the same time, if you're running air conditioning, for example, because you have to, so if you're running air conditioning, that means you got more energy, more carbon footprint, adding more problem rather than taking care of the problem. So my point is, again, the requirement for addressing the global warming in any way they can is a great opportunity. And for food waste, for example, the reason why I'm focusing on food waste, because this is a waste that people are throwing them away. But this is also another major source of methane gas, because 1 ton of organic waste, let that be food scrap or let that be farm food coming out, it creates or emits 1.84 tons of methane gas. Methane gas is 80 times more lethal than carbon emission. So it's just a hanging fruit, Manny.
Sure.
And at the same time, we are spending money to throw them away only to create more or further landfill stress and more carbon emission, greenhouse gas emission.
Wow. Yeah, I know to a lot of people it seems complicated, because it's
No.
digging into the weeds. But bottom line is that it makes sense. It
And
makes sense.
at the same time, Manny, as you pointed out about California, California is the food basket of the United States.
Yes, it is. It is.
So if it is a food basket of the United States, if the land goes arid because there's no water, so where will you find the water from?
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
what we're trying to say to people that all organic food that you and I know, it contains 80 to 85% moisture. So why not dehydrate the moisture and use that moisture, which is full of nutrient, to put them back in the farm? So it becomes a source of the regenerative farming, which is, as I put it, from farm to plate, plate to farm.
Yeah, well, that makes sense because California is obviously one of those states that have gone through some real challenges when it comes to the droughts and the supply of water. And that's another question I have for you was in reference to the water stress. In the world, the water stress in some areas are crazy. In some other areas, it's not stressful. They got too much water. So, is that part of the whole environmental issue?
It is indeed, because a country like I've been to Bangladesh. Bangladesh, for example, is a land of rivers. So many of the rivers, when they overflow, it get the high salinity water comes in. So if you have more water, but the water is not potable water, that means you cannot cultivate. You cannot cultivate. That means the people will go hungry, and they're also losing their livelihood for men and women alike.
Yes, yes. It's funny that we're talking about that because I was just on another conference call with some possibilities of indoor growth in reference to not growing the products outside in like a typical farm, and now they're looking at growing them inside of facilities that are much more efficient, less water consumption, and obviously less damage to the soil and the environment. So that's something that's going to be in the future. Is that the vegetation growing inside versus outside? How do you see that future?
You see, there are many countries who believe that by having desalination process, they can take the water from the sea and create the sweet water, so to speak, which is true. But then again, it becomes water intensive, energy intensive. So again, you're adding more fuel to the fire rather than trying to find solution that will have less carbon emission and less energy intensive.
Yeah. So the last little question I got for you is obviously a lot of that has to do with food security too, and the supply chain. Right now, so we can see what's happened in the United States with the supply chain being interrupted because of the pandemic. Now we're facing some shortages and also some increase in pricing. So obviously, when we're looking at what you were talking about, some of the obstacles that are facing the food supply and food chain process because of what's happening in the environment. What do you have to say to that, Zach?
Well, the question remains is that why do we have to throw away 50% of the food produced that gets thrown away every time a farmer is producing? Farmers are like businessmen, like anybody else. They would like to see every tomato has been used, every produce that they produce has been utilized or by eaten by or consumed by people. The reason why they get thrown away because of the logistics, because of the nature of food is such that it's a perishable item and so on. So if that is what it is, uh, what I'm trying to say to people, why don't throw away those items? Why don't we use those as a resources to put them back in the field again? So if you're buying a fertilizer, for example, that also adds up value to the food prices that you buy. So if the fertilizer price goes up, the price of the food also goes up because of the OPEX and CAPEX and so forth. So
Right.
my point is again, why do we have to do this when we have you can make your own fertilizer and use the fertilizer that will neutralize the cost of the fertilizer that you're buying it. Then again, when you're buying it, that's also transportation costs. The gasoline prices are going up, so everything goes up as well. So why 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 not find something or create circular economy for something that you're throwing them away?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. I know I've met many people that are trying to use that food waste to actually create hydrogen. And create other sources of energy by corn stalk or sugar cane, so they can go ahead and process that, and then it would come out on the other side. So yeah, I get you. I mean, there's other ways to solve the problem besides just dumping them in some kind of a waste facility.
Absolutely. I mean, biogas is another example. Biogas is also another opportunity whereby you can convert the food waste into synthetic gas that you can use it as a biofuel. So there are many opportunities are there. The point is again, we need to think outside the box or create innovation to propel sustainability or economy and create legacy. And legacy is what we are missing because many of the religious interventions are not there. Education intervention needs to be there. And so is the opportunity from the government side for rewarding or penalizing. For those who are not doing it, they should be penalized. So if you and I know for a fact that we have EPR, extended producer responsibility, don't just say it, make it happen. If you
Right.
throw the reason why I'm saying that because if you're throwing something that will create more global warming, not only for me, for my children and my grandchildren, then you are stepping on my toes. That's not going to be something that I should take it lightly, or people should take it lightly.
No, absolutely, absolutely. We're getting close to the end of the session, but one of the things I wanted to kind of bring up to you, Zach, because you mentioned it a little bit, was workforce development. And I know when I was at the Department of Energy, one of the big factors we saw that was a huge crisis was in STEM education for our youth, because we were basically not getting the supply of educated individuals in STEM. And so, in energy, particularly, we didn't have a good future in filling those jobs that are going to be created by innovative solutions that you're indicating. And also, we weren't going to get those jobs filled in not only in the energy sector but the high tech sector. So how do you see the education aspect, especially in youth, especially in the minority communities where the U.S. is obviously getting larger in the minority sector?
Well, what we do is I'm just going to show you something on my hand right now. It's a coloring book. As you can see, this is for the kids. But this
Yes.
coloring book has a theme of taking care of the reason why they look sad and how the used cooking oil that's coming out from your house and my house has an impact on our ecosystem that is having impact on not only just for you and me, but also for this fish and farms and all kinds of things. So we're basically trying to engage, or we have what we call it kindergarten to industry. So we are basically trying to educate the children because we owe it to them. So they should know that 1 liter of oil can contaminate 1,000 liters of waterways, our lakes, our rivers, and so on. So in a small bit way, in a small timbits way, we try to make an impact on people to understand that how those things, when it's been snowball, how adverse impact will take place.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think we've met our threshold here. So I want to really thank you, Zach, for your incredibly innovative thoughts, because everything's going to have to be innovation, but what they say, you got to make it happen. I mean, you can say it, but let's do it. And I guess that's the next process, is to be able to get people educated and informed in reference to the issues that we're facing, and then obviously finding those solutions and executing them.
I'd like to
That-
take the opportunity, Manny, to announce this, that yesterday only we signed up an agreement uh, with people in Dubai. They're the one who came up with the Palm Jumeirah, the island in this. So they're the developers. And the reason why they signed up with us was very simple. Collect the used cooking oil from them. Why? ¿Por qué? ¿Pourquoi?
Pourquoi?
Because 1 liter of used cooking oil contaminates waterways. So if the idea is to have the nice beach and if the water is having any kind of oil floating, that beach lose the beauty of it. So what we're trying to do is trying to make people understand that every drop counts. Every engagement from the community is important. It's not up to the scientists to tell us the global warming and warn us about the global warming, which is true, but it's also for us to understand how we all can play a part in making this thing happen. One step at a time.
Thank you, Zach. That's really something that we all should be considering. And I want to, close this session by saying, obviously, thank you to the World Green Growth Organization for, highlighting these subject matters so people can basically, understand and learn some of the possible solutions that we can have for some of these issues that we're dealing with. And I want to take this moment to thank everyone for participating. And I look forward to being in contact with you more, Zach, because I got a feeling we're going to be touching base in the future. And I want to then just close the session by saying, let's just do it. Thank you very much to everybody for being here. And I appreciate being able to moderate this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.